Hello viewer and welcome to GBS Morning Extra. If you're just joining us, today we are continuing with the discussion on the coronavirus. By now, we know the issue that is facing Kenyans. We're talking about the COVID-19. This virus has taken the whole world, and recently the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, announced it to be declared it to be a pandemic. Now, let me just give you a very brief explanation of what a pandemic is. According to the World Health Organization, a pandemic is the worldwide spread of a new disease. It goes on to say an influenza pandemic occurs when a new influenza virus emerges and spreads around the world, and most people do not have immunity. Viruses that have caused past pandemics typically originated from animal influenza viruses. Some aspects of influenza pandemics can appear similar to seasonal influenza, while others characteristics may be quite different. Now, that's a very brief, just an extract of what the WHO describes as a pandemic. We've seen the whole country is on full alert. We saw the president come out the other day, and I believe where you live, where you work, and in your environs where you, commune with people every day, you've realized that things have changed. Washing of hands have almost become a norm among our society and is being championed for. But then today, also in studio, I have with me guests who will help me to discuss this further. And I will allow them once again to introduce themselves. I have Bernard and I have Consolata, but then I think for interest's sake, I would like us to do a proper introduction. We start with the ladies, as always.
My name is Consolata Monyiva. I'm a nurse by profession practitioner. Yes.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, viewer. My name is Bernard Mwega, nurse practitioner practicing at Gatundu Level 5 Hospital. And today we are here to discuss on corona and majorly on preventive measures. Thank you and welcome.
Welcome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we start, I would like to start with this question. Listening and also observing, the current situation that the country is going through. What would you say is the most important thing that Kenyans need to know about this coronavirus?
Coronavirus is a virus. It's one of the mycobacterium. And as a mycobacterium in the environment, the major thing the Kenyans should know is preventive measures. Just that, because even if you are not preventive, we are told that the corona can get to the disease level, and then the disease level, you can get cured or you can die. But now, those who get recurred, it's likely to recur again. So the recurrence might not be strong. So the major key thing here is to prevent, the prevention measures in it. Yes.
Now, maybe Bernard, your thoughts on the same?
The great thing that the things that we need to know, I'll get it from Tedros, the World Health Organization Secretary General, who recently said that our greatest enemy right now is not the coronavirus. It is not the COVID disease, but rather it is fear, rumors, and stigma. And we have a strength, and our greatest assets are facts, reason, and solidarity. So Kenyans need to know the facts. We need to spread facts about this disease. We need to reason together, and we need to have solidarity. We have to demystify rumors. Right. We have to demystify to stop stigma. When you see somebody coughing, when you see somebody sneezing, and you label them as corona people, you see maybe you're seated in a matatu and somebody is coughing and everybody is turning to look at that person.
Sure, I mean, it's been a big issue, and I've had people talk, when you're in a matatu, you have to fight with your cough or your sneeze because everyone is really sensitive right now.
Yes, but we've been coughing since ages ago.
Yes.
And we do not have the corona. We need to demystify the rumors. Everybody is now an expert on corona. And bloggers, people in the villages, everybody is saying, recently I was being told there are some people drinking cow urine. There are some
in India yesterday we saw people drinking
Yes.
cow urine.
Yeah. So those are rumors, and that's what we have to fight.
Now, having said that, I think that actually you've done well, because you've brought me just to my next question.
Yes.
There are myths, about this disease, and there is a belief that Africans don't contract this disease so easily, or don't completely contract the disease. Maybe Consolata,
Yes.
would you touch on that? Is it biologically proven?
Not really. Actually, the Africans are also at stake of contracting the disease because they also carry the same body as whites. And maybe some climatic changes or environmental differences, that is what could differentiate from the whites. And the immunity levels of a person dictates how you get the disease. Like if we are seated together and maybe we are exposed to the same virus at the same time, if I'm so immune and somebody else next to me is not immune, then you'll contract the disease.
Sure.
And I might be resistant to that. My immunity might fight it back and get the immune. And then I don't develop severe symptoms as this person who has less immunity. So what we are saying is, as we are trying to prevent, as we are trying to advocate for people to change, let people not be concealed in their mind that Africans do not get it.
Sure.
Africans have a stake of getting the disease. So it's upon everybody to take the preventive measures. And as my colleague has said about the stigma, and actually a cough, a mere cough is a normal reflex in health sector. It's in a person who is healthy.
All right.
So if you don't sneeze, if you don't cough, then your system is not even normal. So you need to
cough.
you
and
need
sneeze.
to cough, sneeze, to remove, at least to clear out the airway. But now when it's persistent and there's some more effect on that, now that is when it calls for investigations. Not anybody who has a small cough should be taken for isolation. Yes.
Bernard,
Yeah.
Africa, I would say, is the last destination that this disease, if you speak continentally, it's the last continent that this disease actually stepped in, because it started in Asia, and then it moved to Europe, and then the Americas, and finally it came to Africa. And in places like Canada, we also saw, like, the wife to the prime minister himself got the disease when she traveled to the UK. But then some people still believe that, look, we withstood Ebola, we withstood all these strange diseases, we can do it. How does this thing affect the human body, and how do we demystify these myths so that people understand that it is a disease like any other, and Africans can also contract the same?
Thank you very much, Philip. COVID-19, that is the name of the disease. It's a respiratory illness. It's simple as that. It's a respiratory illness. And respiratory illnesses tend to be worse in cold climates. And that's natural, and that's known, that's in the public domain. That a respiratory illness, even here, during the months of around June, July, the respiratory illnesses are much higher.
Much higher, yes.
But during the hot weather, the respiratory illnesses are much mild if they are there, and sometimes they are actually absent. Data that has been given by CDC and other authoritative organs indicate that the coronavirus cannot survive above temperatures of 27 degrees centigrade. Right now, the temperatures within Nairobi are 28. Temperatures in northeastern, for example, Garissa, will go up to 42 by 21st March, when the sun is at the equator.
Is overhead the equator.
It is at the overhead at the equator. So we are lucky that these temperatures will help us fight the virus. Because if it cannot survive 27 degrees, you can imagine the 10 hours to 12 hours we are being told that it will survive on inanimate objects. Definitely in Africa it will take less than that. So the environment is on our side. Now, the effect of COVID-19 in our body. COVID-19, one, the mode of transmission is, it started with the animal to human. That's how what it is thought to have been, but now it is spreading from human to human. And human to human, it's droplet infection. If you are within a person within 2 meters, and 2 meters is 6 feet, you can stretch your hands, your arm length. That's about roughly, for me, it's 6 feet, but for shorter people, of course, the shorter the distance. Once it gets into your body, through the nose, the mouth, it goes to the oropharynx. The oropharynx is the intersection where the nose and the throat meet. Then from there, it settles there. That's when you now start having a cough, a dry cough. So, and this is a reflex of the body to push the foreign body out of the body. So you'll start coughing, and that's a dry cough. It will go on. Then, as it establishes itself in the body, it will start producing mucus and fluid. This mucus and fluid will then travel downwards to the lungs. Once they reach the lungs, then they will be carrying the virus, of course. Then it will now infiltrate the lungs. The lungs the amount of fluid in the lungs will now start increasing. Then there's somewhere we call the pleural cavity. This is the intersection where the blood and the oxygen meets, and then there is exchange of blood and oxygen. Now, with fluid in that region, the space is widened. So oxygen has to travel a bigger distance to reach the blood. So what happens? Difficult in breathing sets in.
One of the symptoms is difficulty in breathing.
That's how it comes in.
I mean, this quite much explains it, but then I would like to draw you back and maybe to Consolata. The issue of, the fact that the virus does not thrive in temperatures above 27 degrees Celsius. Could this be the cause of why, I mean, countries like South Africa in Africa is one of the worst hit countries. In South Africa, some places they do have winter, right?
Yes. Now, we have the virus itself is an organism, and it can replicate. Remember, there's one characteristic of a virus to replicate and mutate. Mutation is one of the major characteristics as to why we are not able to cure completely immediately. Like we have HIV virus. Yes. HIV virus, anybody who contracts HIV virus and maybe gets the same virus through another route from somebody else or the same route, he has a tendency of getting a different strain altogether. Like the polio virus. Polio virus has different strains also. So that mutation nature of the virus is what impacts on this change. Now, if you have mutative change in the virus A, like in 2002, 2003, there was the coronavirus still. And it was coming up as SARS, the common cold SARS. The SARS now was not so severe as today. So now the scientists believe that there's a higher mutation as the genes continue up. So as long as there's exposure in these particular climate, especially the cold climate regions, the mutation is very different. And the type of attack that a person can explore or can manifest in, it's very different from the original person who gave out the virus. So the ability to mutate and change shapes, change formation, change genotype in it, how to adapt into an individual body is what is majorly consisting of the major side effects. So when we talk about maybe people in the winter, and when the virus is in the cold region, it's likely to multiply and mutate and get infecting many people. But when it's in the hot climate regions, the virus may not be in a possibility to multiply as it is in the cold climates. Yes.
I was doing some research and also watching other news from the international world. Yes. And right now in countries in America, actually, they announced the first test on a vaccine test on humans. And could this mutation be one of the reasons why it would take slightly longer for us to be able, for the world actually at this time, to be able to curb this particular COVID-19?
Now, when the scientists put on they try to invent a vaccine, it comes in a way that it's trying to block the series of generation. Like now, the stage 1 may be blocked. Like the cases we have for HIV. Now, there are those drugs that interfere with the first stage, the second stage, proteotic stage, those stages. Now, for the vaccines, maybe there is a way they are trying to form it. Maybe we've not studied it as it is yet to come. They are likely to be focusing on the major stages of development or the major stages of replication in a way that this virus, once it enters this particular person's body, you get the vaccines, then you're not likely to transmit it next to the next person. Yes. So I think that is majorly the target. The target should be to stop it from replication. Yes, because if you stop it from replication and mutation, then you are likely to compact it. We have very many vaccines which are already viral and virally activated vaccines. So maybe majorly on it is to stop the mutation. Once you're given the vaccine, is to stop that mutation, and then life goes on. Life goes on. Yes.
Now, I would like to hear your thoughts on that before we take a short break. Bwana Bernard?
She has explained it very well, that viruses mutate, and they mutate very fast. Remember, viruses are a single strand of ribonucleic acid. And it is good to note that for the influenza virus, every season has a vaccine. The vaccine that was used last season cannot be used this season. There is always a new vaccine every season because the virus is the same by name, but it has mutated, its genetic is different, and therefore you cannot use the same. And that, I think that this is the major reason that we don't have a vaccine for HIV. Remember, HIV is a virus, and we don't have a vaccine, despite having lived with us for, is it now 40 years?
Almost 40 years.
Almost 40 years. But we don't have a vaccine, so it's very difficult to get some vaccines for some viruses. And because of that mutation, and it keeps changing.
That pretty much explains why, the treatment of malaria when I was young was obviously known to be quinine, but then as time goes, then we realize that we change. That quite explains much. Now, we're going to take a very short break. Viewer, we are going to take a very short break right now. If you're just joining us, you're watching GBS Morning Extra. And today we're talking about the coronavirus and how mostly we are trying to focus on the preventive measures, because listening to the president also, and also the minister, the cabinet secretary in charge of health, it is quite clear that at this particular moment, prevention of spreading this disease is the only way that we can keep ourselves safe, and that is the particularly area that we are trying to focus on much this morning. And I'm really glad that I'm joined by these very able guests who are explaining these things to make sense to the layman, to the common mwananchi, and that indeed is what we need right now as a country. We take a very short break right now, but when we come back, we still have more for you.
Coronaviruses are a family of contagious viruses that can cause respiratory infections from the common cold to SARS. These viruses can mutate rapidly, resulting in the 2019 new coronavirus named SARS coronavirus 2, which has crown-like spikes that characterize the family. As with most viruses, SARS coronavirus 2 commonly spreads from an infected person to others through droplets in the air when coughing and sneezing, through close personal contact, or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching the face. Unless controlled, each infection typically results in 2 to 3 subsequent people being infected. Like other coronaviruses, SARS coronavirus 2 deposits its genetic material into host cells. The viral RNA reaches host elements called ribosomes, which act as factories that produce viral proteins. This facilitates replication of the viral genome and assembly of viral components, producing fully formed replicants that are secreted and further spread infection. Infection caused by SARS coronavirus 2 is known as COVID-19 and can cause fever, coughing and breathing difficulties, along with cold-like symptoms. Serious cases of COVID-19 can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and can lead to fatalities. Global health organizations have outlined preventive measures to reduce the chances of SARS coronavirus 2 infection, including refraining from touching the face with unclean hands and frequent hand washing with soapy water. As with previous global outbreaks such as swine flu, COVID-19 has gained global attention and treatment development is being accelerated.
In December 2019, there was a cluster of pneumonia cases in China. Investigations found that it was caused by a previously unknown virus, now named the 2019 novel coronavirus. In this video, we'll take a quick look at what's currently known about the virus. Keep in mind that this is a new virus, and what's known about the virus now might change in the future. Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses. They consist of a core of genetic material surrounded by an envelope with protein spikes. This gives it the appearance of a crown. Crown in Latin is called corona, and that's how these viruses get their name. There are different types of coronaviruses that cause respiratory and sometimes gastrointestinal symptoms. Respiratory disease can range from the common cold to pneumonia, and in most people, the symptoms tend to be mild. However, there are some types of coronaviruses that can cause severe disease. These include the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, first identified in China in 2003, and the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus that was first identified in Saudi Arabia in 2012. The 2019 novel coronavirus was first identified in China. It initially occurred in a group of people with pneumonia who'd been associated with a seafood and live animal market in the city of Wuhan. The disease has since spread from those who were sick to others, including family members and healthcare staff. There are many cases at present, and the disease has spread within China and also to a number of other countries. So, where did the virus come from? It's known that coronaviruses circulate in a range of animals. Sometimes these viruses can make the jump from animals to humans. This is called a spillover, and could be due to a range of factors such as mutations in the virus or increased contact between humans and animals. For example, MERS-CoV is known to be transmitted from camels and SARS-CoV from civet cats. The animal reservoir of the 2019 novel coronavirus is not known yet. How is it transmitted? The exact dynamics of how the virus is transmitted is yet to be determined. In general, respiratory viruses are usually transmitted through droplets created when an infected person coughs or sneezes, or through something that has been contaminated with the virus. People most at risk of infection from the novel coronavirus are those in close contact with animals, such as live animal market workers, and those who are caring for people infected with the virus, such as family members or healthcare workers. So, how does the disease present? Well, from what is known so far, there can be a number of symptoms ranging from mild to severe. There can be fever and respiratory symptoms such as cough and shortness of breath. In more severe cases, there's been pneumonia, kidney failure, and death. The mortality rate is not known yet. How can we...
Everywhere GBS.
And welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching GBS Morning Extra, coming to you live from our studios. Today we are discussing coronavirus, and most particularly we're talking about how to prevent this disease from spreading. As we all know by now, still there is no found cure for the same, and that is why it is important for us to practice caution and also to adhere to these small tips that we are being given about health and prevention of the same. Today I'm joined in studio by very interesting guests who are very well informed on the same, and joining us now is Eunice Mino. She was with us yesterday and she's now replacing Bernard. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Now, very quickly, prevention of this coronavirus. One of the most important ways of preventing this have been touted to be the washing of hands.
Yes.
How important is the hand washing in this whole process of preventing the spread of this virus?
Let me say hand washing is very paramount in prevention of any diseases apart from coronavirus. If you look at cholera, you're told hand wash. Anything that touches the GIT, you're told to hand wash. And actually, we are encouraging girls as they visit the toilets, hand wash before, so that you don't introduce bacteria. And then after visiting the toilet, do the hand washing again, so that now, whatever it is that you've collected from there, you dispose it at the sink. So when we are talking about hand washing, let all viewers and Kenyans, and actually the entire world, we should hold it dearly, because I would say this will be like our salvation. It is the same scenario as arranging matchboxes, the sticks. And then you light the first.
All right.
So if we hand wash, I'm going to pull one at the center. So these matchsticks will light up. When they come to the hand washing set, there's a disconnect. So the corona ends there. And again, on this hand washing, we have a tendency, and I will call it a bad culture. You notice, most of us, we eat. Then after eating, oh, my hands are dirty. Kindly allow me to. Remember, initially, before you started eating, you didn't wash your hands. Again, you see those, the hotelians are very generous. They'll bring you soap, they'll bring you water, and actually even the serviettes to dry your hands. But here we are Kenyans. We talking, having a chat, and I'm like this. I'm using my left hand, so this is what I'm going to wash. And then it is just
using it without washing.
Yes, and a
You're
careless wash. Yeah, like this.
Not
so what I would say, can we practice the proper hand washing technique?
What's the proper hand washing technique?
The proper hand washing technique is a technique where you take at least more than 10 minutes, not less than 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Sorry, 10
Seconds.
seconds.
Okay.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
You just, actually we, at the primary level, secondary level, what we encourage people to do is you can sing a song. You start just from the palm, through the fingers, on top, in between the fingers, even at the nail beds. Then after that you finish again a whole round. That is by the time you finish that, you will have taken 10 seconds. And 10 seconds, you can even practice a small song, like happy birthday. You can do happy birthday. By the time you finish happy birthday to you, Eunice, your hands will have taken 10 seconds. Actually start the song. By the time you finish it, that is exactly 10 seconds. And you are clean. Now you can rinse your hands thoroughly. Washing hands, you have to wet your hands first.
All right.
Then you put on the soap. Now start stirring. After that 10 seconds, rinse your hand. Not while you're still stirring and rinsing at the same time.
Yeah.
It does not work like, because you will not emphasize on the major areas to clean up completely.
So you wet your hands.
Yes.
Put the soap.
Yes, you put the soap.
Now rub
Now you
and
start
clean.
rubbing on, off, around. in between and on the then rinse after 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yes, just as simple like that, because if we keep on telling me hand what people will forget. Actually,
Yeah,
by the time I
exactly.
leave this studio,
You don't even remember.
Timothy will be
I
like,
might
no.
No, I
Yes.
practice very,
Yes.
very serious hand washing technique.
Yes.
I've been studying a video by the World Health Organization. I think the
Yes,
Secretary General himself
yes.
got himself to do the video,
Yes.
and it's quite thorough.
Yeah.
And himself says, take at least 20 seconds
Yes.
doing that. Besides hand washing, there is right now, these what do we call them, sanitizers.
Yes.
But then, not everyone can afford the sanitizers, if I may say that.
Yeah, true.
But then there has been videos going viral on how you can make alternative, sanitizers and so on and so forth. How safe and what really can work for, the common mwananchi and someone who really needs a sanitizer? What combination, I don't know if I can call it that, combination, can really work for a sanitizer?
The sanitizers, what is provided, do not make for your own. That
We've
is
seen
the
people
word.
going online doing
That is
You
now
know,
what
when
you
it
call in-
comes to health, it is a matter of strictness. Do not make your own.
There are no plan
Don't
Bs.
break
No, no plan B.
no alternative route. Because the minute we start saying we make ethanol together with, I don't know,
Glycerin.
glycerin and mixed up. Remember this glycerin where it was formed, and how many days has it stayed in the shelves, from the manufacturer to where it has reached today. I've bought it today. Maybe it was manufactured 2018.
Yes.
You see, there's everything that
Oh,
is
there's a shelf
a chemical,
life.
there's
Shelf life,
shelf
yeah.
life, and that shelf life might have been destroyed long time ago, and then our manufacturer doesn't. The retail does not want to tell the buyer whether it is already expired. It has overstayed in the shelf.
Yes.
There's something called the active ingredients of something. Like when we talk about sanitizers, we want that glycerin from the major, these things are from the plant, from the major original plant or original object. Now that major one is what is making. Number two, there's tendency to increase the levels. Oh, there's corona, so I'll use a lot of alcohol than the
Than the
so
glycerin.
it's
yeah.
rather now you put people don't use or make their own, because the minute you tell people to make their own, personally I'll come and say ikitu iko na corona sana, then I have to add more of alcohol.
Which brings me to the point, Eunice, you mentioned something right before we started the program,
Yes.
about, a video that is going viral and the danger of, doing these mixtures.
Yes.
What are some of the dangers that we are looking at in terms of mixing the wrong chemicals, if I may say that?
Everything that is in the shelves have chemicals. I, with my little knowledge, I will not know the exact chemical, the amount of that chemical that has been used in this product. Again, remember, we have river roads,
Yes.
we have Kariobangis, and those are very much existing within us. So when I purchase a glycerin, I don't know whether this glycerin has passed through KEBS. It is certified to be on the shelves. I do not know. Everybody will be now making rounds, supplying surgical spirit. Do you know the origin of that surgical spirit? So when you take two chemicals that you know nothing about, mix them together, then actually we are creating more problem than the corona itself. So I would urge Kenyans, kindly, can we make use of what is there? Visit your nearest hospital. They are in scarcity. That one I can tell you for sure.
And right now, actually, the distributors or manufacturers, if I may call them that, are hoarding. I would say they're hoarding, and the prices are actually very high.
Hiking.
Yesterday, we saw arrests
Yes.
in, I think, in Yaya Center,
Yes.
where this, store was invaded by KMPD
Yes.
officials and police
They're making-
officers.
yes.
This comes just a day after the president himself warned and said, hey, don't take advantage of the situation to, burden Kenyans. Then how do we go about it? Is soap and water a good alternative?
Yes, soap and water is a good alternative because that is readily available. But now again, there's an article that I was reading that Now for like us, the health workers, when we come from work, and even every other Kenyan,
Yes.
you will pass by a matatu, you will be in that matatu, you've touched so many services by the time you get home. So the argument was, I will go, open the tap, wet my hands. I've used that hand that might have been infected with the coronavirus. And then I will apply my soap. I will do the hand washing for 20 seconds faithfully.
Alright.
Then it's time now I have to close.
Shut the tap.
Yes. So I will go back, pick that virus, claiming that I'm very clean. I will rub my hands together and the cycle continues. So what
Because
I'm thinking,
the germs were actually on
the tap.
the tap.
So they were saying that you first sanitize your hands, then you go to the tap, do the hand washing. So I would urge the government to take it upon themselves to ensure the same way when this famine, they supply food. This is an epidemic. It is going to get bad if we don't place the right measures on time. If they take it upon themselves, provide sanitizers per family, per household. So that when the kids go out to the shop, when they go, and we have been told this is being transmitted again through the notes.
Exchange of money.
Yes.
And the president actually advised that if
we
people
make it
can do more
cashless. And Safaricom is doing a good job.
Yeah.
But again, before we get to that point that we'll be using the cashless completely, because right now we are still using the cash.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Can it be availed? And if it will not be possible for the government to avail, then can they put measures whereby if that bottle, 500 ml bottle used to cost 100, then that price has to be 100. And if you have it in your stores, my friend, put it on the shelves so that every other Kenyan can benefit. This is not the time.
There's also panic buying where you find someone would come and buy like 10 or 20 and you're like, but then I've seen some supermarkets actually do something very wise, that the teller machine cannot actually read more than two items or two or tries for one person.
Yes.
I think that is the route that we should be taking. You remember when there was scarcity of maize flour, you couldn't do more than two packets.
than 2 packets.
Whether you have that money, whether you want a bill, whether you have a shop, it has to be two packets. If you want, go to Tuskys, go to Naivas, get them, and actually I think it should have a code. When I purchase from Naivas, I will not purchase from Tuskys because I'm blocking somebody else from accessing it from another point.
Maybe before we just finish, yesterday there was a situation in Machakos County, and I would like to mention this because when people don't understand the gravity of the situation, and also when people just live in oblivion where they do not know what really happened, then there is that scare that still continues, and they're like, because I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes people even fail to trust the authorities. They would say, labda wanaficha tu hiyo, hawataki tujue, but it was an actual case.
Yes.
Maybe what happened and how was the situation solved at the end?
Okay, I'm not so sure, but exactly about this thing of people fearing anybody who comes in, it has to be discouraged in a way, because not everybody who comes in is sick.
Yes.
And maybe he has passed through all the screening from wherever he has passed through.
Yes.
Sometimes these people might be very free. So the stigma in which people are approaching issues in it, it should be discouraged in a way. You take yourself in that position. You've just landed somewhere like here, I've come here, and then now everybody is suspecting me because I'm from this particular area, which is very much in that chronic end. So I think the stigma and the approach in which people are needs a lot of education. There's a lot which needs to be done through the media, through the community, at the primary levels, at the household level. The communication and then the education needs to be emphasized on the active protective measures and gears, and to know that some things are very natural. As we said before, if you put a stigma in then we'll have the fear. Then the fear now will impose us to not performing, because now you'll go messing up everything. Yes.
And maybe, Mino, if you can also comment on this. There's been several cases of locals
Yes.
victimizing foreigners, and especially if they are of Asian origin, either Chinese or Korean or Japanese. And we saw in one of the informal settlements where they were almost attacking a man and calling them loudly, corona, corona. How should our publics conduct ourselves in terms of this?
One thing we forget: a Chinese in Kenya, we have a Kenyan in China.
Yeah.
So if it is about let me call it ethnicity,
Yes.
we should be thinking of that brother and sister in China. How would we want them to be treated, down there? And it's unfortunate that we were saying do not come into contact with people that are from countries that have. Now we have it.
Now we
Right?
already have it.
We
Yeah.
have it. And the good thing is it's not a Chinese that has been found to have it.
Yeah.
It's not a
It's a
Korean
Kenyan.
that has been found with it. It is a Kenyan.
Kenyan, yeah.
And the cases that are there being isolated for investigations, they are Kenyans. So we should embrace each other.
Yeah.
We should actually help each other in educating one another on the preventive measures. And again, on this,
As we finish.
as we finish, let it be known, if we are told corona is not surviving above 26, let us take advantage of that.
All right.
And we are thankful to God the rains have ceased and the temperatures have shot.
Short, yeah.
As we take water, take plenty of that water.
All right.
If possible, make it warm hot, the better.
All right.
Why? We've seen when the corona is inhaled, it likes settling. The first
settle.
settlement, it's
Yeah,
at
like the
the
explanation,
esophagus.
yes.
So when you take in plenty of warm hot water, we are flushing it.
Ah.
So in the stomach, will it have any effect to our respiratory
No.
system? Absolutely no.
Yes.
So when you take this water, drain it down there, we are safe. The corona is there in the stomach, very much misplaced.
Yes.
Again, let us practice hand washing. Proper hand washing.
washing,
You know, it is very saddening when you meet these matatus after a very stern directive of we want points of hand washing, and then you see somebody on TV trying to argue, where will we get this time to keep on hand washing all the time? And then I ask myself, so where will you get this time to lay in a hospital bed for 14 days as we wait
As
to
you wait
confirm,
to confirm.
whether you
You're
have this
sick.
corona? Then we get you have this corona, my
Then
friend.
a
We again
quarantine for-
retain you
For as
for
long
God
as you...
knows. Yes.
Well, your final comments?
Yes, my final comment is actually the major insisting factor in this end is prevention, prevention, prevention. As long as now we have the disease at hand, is to prevent.
All right.
As my colleague has said, hand washing, for that matter, warm water or whatever water you have. People usually say warm water also clears out. Yes, warm water is highly absorbable and it can clear out the throat. Even if you have a small cough, warm water will always enhance you. Water, 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 a lot of water. And when we talk about water, in medicine we talk about water, and quantity of water we quantify it. More than 2 liters in a day,
All right.
in 24 hours.
All right.
Barely if you get a surge of people and you count how many people took 2 liters by the end of the day, you're likely not to get 2 or 3.
2 or 3. So people
water,
should take
water.
plenty
at
of
least
water.
2 liters and above.
And warm, preferably,
Yes,
if they
true.
can.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. For interest of time, I think we'll have to, end it there. But then I would really love to have you guys over and over again so that we can talk about this conclusively and also educate the public. Because I think still there's a lot that the public needs to understand and know about this particular issue. Viewer, we have come to the end of our segment. If you have any comments, suggestions, or opinion, please don't forget to keep the conversation going using our hashtag. That's GBS Morning Extra. Our Twitter handle is @KenyaGBS. My name is Timothy Omondi. Do have yourself a lovely day. And I'm paving way now for my colleague Kevin Nyariki, who is going to update you more on sports. And even in sports, we've heard of a coach in Spain who have succumbed to the coronavirus. So I think this is quite something that many people need to pay attention to and think about. For now, it's bye-bye and see you again tomorrow, God willing.